Liverpool get the job done at the San Siro thanks to a commanding performance against Inter. Salzburg nearly had it in Austria, but Bayern grabbed a precious late equalizer as we wrap up the first week of round of 16 action, first leg in the Champions League. Jimmy Conrad is here. James Benj is here. You are here. Qué Golazo Champions League recap begins right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Qué Golazo. If you're watching live on YouTube, like that video. Come on, you know you want to. It only takes a second and costs you nothing. More likes mean we get more Qué Golazo for you. And make sure that you comment, ask questions. James Benj is here. Jimmy Conrad is here. They want to answer anything that you have going about the Champions League and beyond. And by the way, some of you are listening in podcast form. That's nice. Please make sure that you subscribe to Qué Golazo Podcast wherever you get your pods and leave a nice 5-star rating and review wherever it suits. And you can do that now while you listen. So thank you so much for being here. Jimmy Conrad, how are you, good sir?
I'm great. I love the Champions League. It's my favorite competition in the world. So I love dissecting, obviously, the biggest of games with some of the biggest of teams. And I don't think that maybe it hit the same type of excitement as yesterday. But there's obviously a lot of intrigue, and Bayern Munich getting a draw against RB Salzburg is definitely worth something to talking about. And Inter not getting any shots against Liverpool at home at the San Siro and losing 2-0. Set pieces do make the difference. Anyway, I'm excited to be here, and of course, seeing your beautiful faces as always.
Excited to have you, Jimmy Conrad. James Benj is happy because he's correct. Liverpool won. He predicted a Liverpool win. How are you, James Benj?
Yeah, I'm good. Two for two this week, so I can't wait to come crashing back down to earth. Yeah, I mean, kind of with Jimmy. I'm looking forward to the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
get these schlubs out of the way. Let's get rid of them.
Get these scrubs out the way. Let's get it to the quarterfinals. Indeed, that's true. That's sometimes how I feel about the round of 16. It's kind of like this. All right, you made it so far. We'll give you an extra ticket, but after this,
Man United,
you're no longer welcome. United, rightly so. Welcome everybody. As I mentioned at the top of the show, please, we want your comments. We want your questions. What did you make of either game? Any questions for Jimmy? Any questions for James? Please make sure that you throw them in. And we begin, of course, as Liverpool and Klopp's embarrassment of riches defeated Inter Milan 2-0. A lot of attacking options, of course, but Bobby Firmino did his thing. So did Mohamed Salah, did their thing. It was kind of you saw Inter waking up a little bit in the second half, but in the end, the narrative, the storyline there, James Benj, was Liverpool. Really just too much. It doesn't matter if it's at Anfield, at the San Siro, it's too much for Simone Inzaghi to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's just world-class talent at both ends of the pitch. I think, we will naturally talk about Roberto Firmino, a great impact by him. He's not one of the world-class players anymore. And Salah, who kind of without playing that well, always looked dangerous. But for me, the standout performer tonight, maybe the best individual performance I've seen so far in the Champions League. One of the best individual performances I've seen so far in 2022. Virgil van Dijk, I think just phenomenal. And actually, I think Inter were pretty good. They might not have had a single shot on goal, but I don't think that was their fault. I just think Van Dijk was at a level that no other centre-back in the world can reach, because he was squashing attacks left, right and centre without even breaking a sweat. And I know that, let's be honest, there are people in this podcast studio that wouldn't have to break a sweat to keep up with Edin Dzeko. But, by God, does he make it look very, very easy. And I think that carried up the team, because I think late on, I don't think Liverpool thought they were going to concede.
I just want to jump in and say that you went with Van Dijk, and I almost expect him to have those types of performances. That's kind of associated with him, to have that type of stature and presence in big games in particular. I was really impressed with Konate, because Konate, his center back partner, he blocked a whole bunch of shots. He got into the good passing lanes on a cross where Dzeko was kind of drifting to the back post. He made some good tackles in the middle of midfield. And maybe because my expectations are lower for the 22-year-old than it is for Van Dijk, I just was like, God damn, he's up for it. Now, Liverpool, prior to this game, had played 37 games in all competitions, and Konate had only started 12 of them. And I thought he was a bit of a surprise selection for this. So for him to go in there in a tough environment against a team that is pretty good and have the performance that he did alongside Virgil van Dijk really speaks well to his future. And again, I guess reconfirms that Liverpool know what they're doing when they're scouting in the transfer market, because they get players that fit their model. And I thought Luis Diaz was another one that came off the bench and provided a spark. Maybe he didn't end up on any of the score sheets or any meaningful stats, but that the game turned a little bit when he came on the field. And yeah, I just can't say enough about Liverpool. This is the 8th game out of their last 9 where they've scored 2 or more goals. It's impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. I'll also add Jordan Henderson. I thought when he came on, tidied things up in the midfield.
I agree.
I don't know. It's very weird, guys. Like when you watch it, it's not weird. Obviously, it's obvious. But, when you have Luis Diaz and Salah and, Firmino still around and stuff, they occupy space so well. Kind of a Man City trick. But, they're just so good. I mean, I think our friend Musa Okwonga said it on Twitter. Like at some point, Salah was playing right back. Just in defensive transition, James mentioned, it's kind of incredible just how the same credit that we give to Pep Guardiola and Man City and how cohesive they look and they're like an orchestra. Liverpool, yes, for all the rock and roll and heavy metal, they're actually super synchronized as well. It's really great to see every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Europe, it's kind of been a long time since they've been what we think of Jurgen Klopp football as being, and they are very composed and methodical, like you say. I think if you kind of look at the speed at which they play and which they play tonight and which they play a lot of European games, they're actually kind of one of the slower teams in Europe because largely because no one gives them the chance to burst into any space. But yeah, this is a machine team that knows. Saying that Salah is drifting back into right back because he knows that quite often Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't going to get there quickly enough, and he knows when the danger is enough, and when Alexander-Arnold, who I thought defended Perisic okay, I thought he was all right. Yeah, he knows when he'll need help. I mean, equally, there were quite a few times where I was like, "Oh, Salah's just not coming back at all." And if you looked at the sort of pass matrix of the first half, you have you end up with Jota almost playing as like a fourth midfielder and Mane as well, and then Mohamed Salah's just in the penalty area. He's so smart at knowing when he needs to be that player, the guy that's just not coming back for anything, saying to Bastoni, you are not pushing on like you like doing. And when he is going to go, actually, no, I need to drop back now. Trent's bombed on too far, or, Perisic they just know each other so well, and it's going to be so valuable throughout this competition.
Yeah, we saw a comment there from Coutinho Gambino who said, I don't see this Inter team scoring 3 at Anfield.
Good name, though, right?
It is a fantastic name. I agree with you. I think that they had to score first. They had to be somewhat of a draw maybe in this one at the very least for them to have a chance in the second leg. And I say that because of the defending that we saw. Not only was Konate and Virgil van Dijk winning those duels, blocking passing lanes and all that, I actually thought they held a very high line, but did it to great effect. And that timing between center backs is very important. And also not allowing your outside backs and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson to sometimes drift behind you, which then holds the player that you're trying to hold offside. And even though it was kind of close at times, Dzeko did get in one behind and he was off by a step or two. But that's going to be really important because if Liverpool, which I think their Achilles heel is their defending, and that you can get at them, that they have some vulnerabilities there. But if they have that locked down, and then you add into the fact that everybody's healthy and they have this depth and they can bring a Bobby Firmino to come on and be a super sub, or maybe Harvey Elliott will be a super sub in the next one, and Jordan Henderson comes off the bench to tidy things up, to your point, LME. That makes Liverpool, for me, have to be one of the favorites in this competition. I just think if they have all those boxes ticked in being able to score when they want, even or run a play, set pieces, or then can defend and really do it well with a high line, which puts even more pressure on the opposing teams is to get everything perfect. It's going to be hard to beat them. Now, maybe in a one-legged affair you could catch them, but over 2 legs, it's going to be hard to beat this Liverpool team if they can maintain this form. Yeah,
that's a good point that you raised, and I want to bring it up in a second about sort of the halfway through power rankings. I know the other teams still have to play next week as well, but I am seeing this all English powerhouse at this point with Man City, Liverpool, perhaps PSG third. I will get to that in a second, but I wanted to come back to Inter, Jimmy, and then Bench, please jump in. But, you're high on Nico Varela, so as a lot of us. Do you think that, Vidal did his thing, but, when you have such a Goliath like Liverpool, especially in the pressing machine, especially in the first half, and actually I thought, I hate saying this as a Peruvian, but Vidal did okay in the first
He did
half.
fine. He was fine. I thought he'd get a yellow. I'm sad he didn't get a
Peruvian
yellow
contract to say anything.
He was
nice
really
about
struggling to not go full Vidal, wasn't he? He was like,
he was.
Control yourself.
Yeah,
He
exactly. So that's my point, Jimmy. So Nico Varela, do you think he would have, made any kind of a difference?
Well, he does. He does a very good job of running out of midfield and creating those numerical advantages, which you can overload a side or help combine. We've seen him do it before, and then he's very good at hitting a bit of a deep cross, kind of Trent Alexander-Arnold-ish if he finds himself in those spots. So he does provide something a little bit different than Vidal. Vidal will give you that toughness and be hard to break down, but I think it speaks to the lack of depth that maybe the Inter have, which will make it hard for them to go far in this competition.
And the Liverpool money, the Premier League money, the strength.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought on Alexis Sanchez, who's been good this season by his standards for sure. And Darmian, Ranocchia, Gagliardini, DeMarco, like nobody really lights you up outside of Alexis Sanchez. If they had a Barella, then maybe you can bring on a Vidal. So I thought Inter lacked a little bit in terms of, especially when they went down, who can they bring on to really change the game and really take it over and get control back? And I don't think they had that. Also, I want to add that Handanovic hasn't looked good over the last, I'd say, month or so, where I thought maybe he could have made a couple big saves in Milan derby, where I thought he should have saved Giroud's second goal. Maybe he could have been moving a little bit better across his line on the first one. Bobby Firmino, they might need to look at putting somebody on the back post. That would have been cleared off the line if they had a person on the back post. So it's not all on Handanovic, but if you want to win any competition, I've said this before, I'll say it again, you have to have a goalkeeper making timely saves, and Handanovic didn't make those saves today.
And I definitely thought he was like leaning too far the one direction for that Firmino header. As good as, the header was world class, amazing header. But I kind of thought maybe Handanovic had gambled that it was coming at his near post. I kind of came out of this game thinking more positively of Inter than I had beforehand, even though they've just lost and not had a shot on target. Because I'm really conscious when I say this. I say this as someone that every week is at Premier League games, and obviously I don't see as much of Serie A or Liga or Bundesliga or La Liga. But like these Premier League teams are just on another level. It goes back to what Jimmy was saying about the players they could bring off the substitutes bench, but they have the best coaches in the world. They have the best players in the world at both ends of the pitch. And I think Inter did a lot right that I really liked. I thought they were incredibly shrewd in the first half with the way that they pressed Liverpool in a way where the Liverpool defense would look up and they'd have time to look up, but there'd just be no passes on. They were really good at the sort of in-between press of, we'll let you keep the ball, but we won't give you many options. And eventually you'll feel like you're just going to have to punt it somewhere and we'll get it back that way. I thought maybe if it had been Lautaro chasing some of those passes in behind rather than Dzeko, this might have gone a bit differently. I think I kind of come away from this thinking huge credit to Simone Inzaghi, but it's just a kind of harsh lesson that Serie A, that La Liga, that pretty much every league, just not at this Premier League standard now. And maybe it's only a handful of teams, Bayern and PSG, that come close to kind of whoever you want to pick from the Premier League, except Man United, who are rubbish.
No, I mean, I'm with you 100%. I don't even think there should be any hesitation. I mean, part of it is also the economics, right? Premier League money is Premier League money. They're going to attract a lot of, good players, but it's just the quality already. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if I saw an all-English final at this point in the Champions League, obviously. So let's look at those power rankings for a second. I know Des Norris will be kind enough to throw a graphic up here, but everybody watching, please, I give it to you. Give me just your top 3, your top 4 teams. I don't know, but this is the perfection side of things, right? The 100%. Obviously, Ajax are still a force to be reckoned with. I'm very intrigued to see how they look after a big winter break and playing, competition in the continent. So that's one thing. And then obviously Liverpool, Bayern Munich, but I'm gonna, you got to throw Man City. My top 3 right now, Man City, Liverpool, PSG. What do you say, Jim?
I've got some recency bias here, obviously, but I thought Man City looked very good against Sporting. And the fact that Pep Guardiola said after the fact that his team could play even better makes me laugh and just like, all right, that's Pep being Pep. But even Bernardo Silva said something similar, that we just happened to score 5 goals on 6 shots. And that scoreline didn't really reflect how we actually played and how Sporting played, and maybe we didn't deserve all those goals. That's not going to make Sporting feel any better because they still got their asses kicked 5-0. But there was something about that City performance, and they're another team that's kind of rounding into peak health where they have every option to choose from, and that's a good position to be in. So City's got to be in the conversation. I really liked the version of PSG I saw yesterday. Can they maintain that under Mauricio Pochettino? I don't think we've seen that consistency.
Does that team beat Liverpool, Jimmy?
No, that back line for me is still a bit of a question mark, I would say. And I don't think that Real Madrid did enough yesterday to challenge that back line. But I did like that they were playing on the front foot in almost every position and that they were solid on both sides of the ball. But again, Real Madrid didn't really attack with any convincing numbers. And I know that Carlo Ancelotti just got kind of publicly chastised by some of the Real Madrid board for his tactics and being a bit negative.
Florentino Perez apparently was furious.
Yeah. Well, no, I get it. I would be too. Like, hey, we got everybody here. Maybe Benzema's not 100%, but we should still look better than that. And so I get where I'm actually might be siding with Florentino Perez for the first time in my life. But makes me wonder about the away goals, because I feel like in the first leg, at least, there's no real impetus for the away team to actually go out and risk anything, because there's nothing else. There's nothing at stake. And I don't think they maybe thought that through, that we could lose some value in the first leg. Now, you still want to play, you still want to go get that goal, but that away goal just gave it a little something else, a little bit of different juice. And I'm kind of sad that it's gone, because right now, this iteration, I'm not feeling too great about it.
I mean, I agree with that, Jimmy, but I suppose we do then very quickly forget that back in the away goals era, it was just that home teams never attacked. You know, I remember
no, that's true. That's fair.
European games where you'd have like the home fans.
Sorry to interrupt, Bencha. You'll keep going, but Heath Pierce said a great sentence. 1-0 now is the new 0-0.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Like, so many games, European games, I remember where it's like the home fans are just pleading with their team to go and try and score a goal, but they're like, nah, don't want to risk that. Kind of back onto the sort of power rankings talk.
Yeah.
I still think that,
who's your one?
Real Madrid
Who's your one?
My one is City.
Two?
Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then I still have Bayern third, because I think you still have to consider that PSG are not definitely through, and they will have a tougher task, even though they have a lead, and Bayern, who we'll come on to talk about, do not.
Yeah.
I think Bayern just need a few more bodies in midfield. Neuer back would help them a lot as well. But for me, the top three or the top two are quite a bit clear now, actually. And I do these power rankings every round, and I've had Bayern near the top. I might have to push them down into a tier and leave.
There's probably a 1-2 tier, just like the Premier League race, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just City, Liverpool, and then kind of a little bit of a gap. All right, well, I'm throwing that to everybody watching. Throw that, throwing this top three power rankings question. Who's your top three in the Champions League right now? I know we still got games next week as well, but I don't think any of them really will convince us otherwise as well. So Jimmy, you gave it to us, right? You said City. Your two was you were hazy on the two.
I just got really hazy. I was hoping you wouldn't throw it back to me for this.
You were very Snoop Dogg in the Super Bowl.
I was. I mean, I was thinking about PSG versus Liverpool, and
Liverpool wins that. Liverpool wins that, surely.
No, they do, but I think there's something to be said for if you do have that version of PSG that shows up that we can see on paper has the talent to beat anybody at any point, which hasn't really been seen too often. Yeah, but ultimately, I'd go Liverpool would beat them. City's right there. Liverpool and City, especially in the Champions League. That's a good one. PSG drops off a little bit. I think Bayern, even though they didn't fire on all cylinders today, when Manuel Neuer comes back and they can still extend their run in this Champions League and not get knocked out by Salzburg, who were up for it today, then, I think they find themselves in a good spot as well to be at least in the conversation. And am I missing anybody? I guess Chelsea, you can't rule out Thomas Tuchel in a one-off competition. He's shown he knows how to get to a final for sure.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's gonna be intriguing to see. But throw all those top three power rankings for us, everybody. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna talk Salzburg, Bayern Munich, a little Aronson talk. So you got an assist, I believe. A little bit of a Europa League preview as well, and final thoughts from these two lovely gentlemen. Qué Golazo Champions League Wednesday recap. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are here still. By the way, don't be shy. Get into the mix in the comments section. We want to hear from you. Anything as well. All right, so let's get into Salzburg, Bayern Munich. Salzburg nearly had it there, Jimmy, Conrad. They nearly had it. But now, with that Coleman equalizer, Bayern are now 22 road games in the Champions League, unbeaten. But there are some cracks appearing in the Bavarian veneer. Oh, Des Norris, you're a poet with these texts, by the way. Jimmy, talk to me about this game.
Well, I'll say first and foremost, I was pretty surprised by the lineup that Munich went with. They dropped Upamecano, went to a back three with Benjamin Pavard, who usually is more of an attack-minded outside back. You got Lucas Hernandez, who, yeah, he could play center back. He could play in the back line, but we know he likes to go forward. You got Nicolas Sula, who didn't look good against Bochum this past weekend. Either did Upamecano. They drop Upamecano, go to a back three, and then use kind of like Coman and Serge Gnabry as like wing backs, and then Tolisso and Kimmich as the holding midfielders, and then you just hope that Lewandowski and Sané and Muller can create chances, which they do quite well. I mean, they had more than enough chances to score some goals. I do, though, want to say that Lewandowski didn't get a shot on goal. He's played in 63 Champions League games, and only twice has he not got a shot on goal in 63 games. And one of those.
So what was it? Just defensive resiliency from Salzburg? Off night?
Yeah, it's a good question. What I'll say is I thought it was really important because it's a really young team, RB Salzburg. Them scoring first gives a young team like that doesn't have the same type of experience as Bayern a lot of momentum and belief that, you know what, maybe tonight's our night. Maybe tonight, that little extra energy I'm going to get from the crowd, the little extra energy I'm going to get from that goal is going to change our fortunes. And they almost did it. And I think all the XG and everything goes against Bayern in this particular game. They dominated, I think, every meaningful stat. But you still have to go out there and make plays. And it just seemed like it wasn't going to be Bayern's night. And as the game went on and on and on, and even though Kingsley Coman did get one there at the end, it felt like Salzburg was doing enough in those intangibles to maybe merit getting all 3 points, even though there's not points in this one, but they're getting the win in the first leg. So a really impressive performance. I thought Karim Adeyemi in particular didn't look out of place. I thought he was driving at Bayern. He was making it very difficult for them. And I can see why Borussia Dortmund and other clubs are looking to get him, even though it looks like he's going to Dortmund in the summer. So that'll be a nice matchup. He was born and raised in Munich, so it's kind of a cool story there. And he was actually with the Munich Youth Academy from 2015 to 2017. So for him to go to Dortmund will be interesting for next season. But I actually thought he played really well, and it was a good performance from Salzburg. I don't know if it's going to be enough. The last time these two played against each other in the Champions League in the group stages a couple seasons ago, Bayern were up 3-0, and then Salzburg got a late equalizer, or not a late goal, just to kind of make it 3-1. And I could see something similar happening in leg 2.
Jimmy Conrad has buried the lead here, is he not? This is a defining moment in the history of US soccer, I believe. The fourth player to get an assist in the Champions League knockout.
I did.
Round.
I'm sorry about that. Sorry,
Brendan Aronson.
Brendan Aronson, who belongs, if they were ever to make an updated version of Dazed and Confused, I'm going with Brendan Aronson in that one. Talk to me about Brendan Aronson, James Bench. What's going on?
His assist was a little bit dazed and confused as well, because let's call a spade here. I'm delighted for him. He was really good.
He's good though, right? Leeds United won him. Like, he's good.
Yeah, but that was not an assist. That was a really heavy touch. That was just, he was trying to control the ball.
Overall, Bench.
Way to bury the lead, Bench. Like backhanded compliments from Bench here.
But having said that, you know, it doesn't really matter how it teed his teammate up for a goal. And you know, from the clips I've seen from this game and what I saw, Aronson had a really good game, really effective on the counter attack. And there were moments when like Salzburg looked like they might get another, and Aronson was really involved in that. I mean, I could go on and on about Adeyemi, but Jimmy's beaten me to that. But yeah, he was excellent. And I mean, yeah, maybe Joel Jimenez is right. Maybe it was just a clever touch. I think in general,
clever touch, by the way.
You should give. I am generally of the view you should give footballers benefit of the doubt, especially when you're me and you've never played professionally. I'd love to give Brendan the benefit of the doubt there, but I can't quite.
No, but
anyway,
listen,
who cares?
It's a good performance from him. But you know, looking at these stats, though, Bench, you know, I think in a way Salzburg could be happy that they got a draw, because eventually the mountain was coming, I guess. I mean, I know that it's tough because they conceded an equalizer so late, but 22 shots for Bayern Munich, 9 on target, 72% possession, almost triple the pass accuracy. I mean, Salzburg were like, well, at least we got a nice draw out of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I suppose my question with Bayern is, this has happened quite a bit this season, especially, you know, the Bochum game as well. Again, if you go and look at the XG, Bayern won that convincingly, and Bayern won this game convincingly according to the XG. But, you know, that number is going to get artificially inflated quite a lot if you're doing all the attacking, because you're trying to overcome a 1-goal deficit. And Mike saying that's a,
yeah. Mike is saying that if Lionel Messi makes that touch, the entire world screams genius. I'm sorry, Mike. I don't really agree.
I'm stirring the pot.
But, I mean, just on Bayern, what I would say is, I want, and I have seen them doing it, but right now they need a game where they hit these high XG numbers, hit these high shot numbers, without also conceding, a lot of good chances at the other end. And looking at those pass maps and things, it was a real back three with no support. I thought that to me reads a little bit cavalier from Nagelsmann, a little bit excessively risky. I mean, Tolisso and Kimmich, kind of one and a bit defensive midfielders between them, and then 3 defenders, and then just everything else ahead of them. Like you could, if you try that again in the second leg, you could get unlucky. You could concede one and the ball just doesn't bounce to Lewandowski. It's a little bit risky.
You're not giving this to Salzburg in the second
No,
leg?
No, definitely not.
Right,
but it just, it feels like this particular approach is going to invite a little bit of unnecessary risk.
When they play tougher opposition, when they play real Goliaths, it might be a problem.
Yeah. But I mean, even against Bochum, they're playing, Thomas Muller as like one of their deepest midfielders. Like at some stage, you kind of just need to set yourself a solid base and control the game from there, and not sort of play Kimmich, or play Coman, Gnabry, Sane, and Muller all out on the wings and not have anyone defending those flanks. It's risky.
It is risky. Yeah. What I would jump in and say is I just didn't feel like, even though they might have worked on it in training leading up to this game, and obviously they needed to have a response after giving up 4 to Bochum, it just felt, to your point, what cavalier, I think is the word you use, Benj, where it just almost lacked respect for Salzburg in some ways. And even though, they dominated, I think they had like 400 more completed passes than Salzburg did. To your point, I think there are some gaps that can be exploited, and a better, more experienced team might be able to do that in a more meaningful way, or at least more consistently. Salzburg did have their opportunities. They could have got another goal in there. I think there was room for that. I just don't know if Niklas Süle, if you're going to go to this back three, I don't know if he's your guy. He seems to drop off when he should be stepping up, or vice versa. And now that he's already admitted he's going to Borussia Dortmund, that's always weird. I don't know why the German culture feels so compelled to tell everybody.
Weird, isn't it? Can we just talk about that for a second? It's so random.
It's 6 months where I'm going to go do this, but my heart's here. I promise. My heart's here. I promise. It's just super weird. So anyway, that is interesting. And then no Manuel Neuer. When if you got 3 weeks now until the second leg, if they can get Neuer back and they get some guys healthy, and they can get I guess it comes down to balance. And I just feel like they might have worked on it for a few days, but they just seem like, where's everybody supposed to move? What do you want? Genius young manager. What do you want us to do? Even though they know what they're doing, it's still, is everybody working together at the same time? And I just feel like they're a little bit more fluid and more of a traditional, when they have their back four and they have their 2 holding midfielders, and then allow their guys to have a little bit more freedom. Thomas Muller in particular, who's very good at finding space between the lines. So they just looked a little bit off in that capacity, but of course, they created more than enough chances to end up winning this game. It just wasn't their day.
Well, they have Leverkusen and Eintracht Frankfurt before the second leg. So, they still got a little bit of work in the middle of there. But you would imagine Bayern at home, they should take care of business. It's just more about, to our point at the very beginning, regarding the quarterfinals and so on. Anything to say about Matthias Jassler, by the way? Either of you, if you wanted to jump on that one. The Timothy McVeigh of Austrian football, as Norris is calling him. I like that. What do you think, Bench? Anything on him?
He looks like he's come straight off the set of Succession. But he's too young to be a football manager. These 2 managers had a combined age that was about a decade younger than Roy Hodgson.
Yeah,
that's just disrespectful.
It's amazing.
No, what I'll say really quick is I thought
he's a very talented manager.
Yeah, he's got ideas, and I think that he's tapped into how to get the most out of his players. I thought there was a nice game plan to kind of try to bottle up Lewandowski a little bit. Like, hey, if we're going to lose, let's just not lose to that guy, and let's make sure we get him boxed in. Because I thought the center backs were pretty solid. They're both relatively young. Mo Kamara in the middle of the field, he's got the inevitable task of trying to manage Thomas Muller, who's very crafty. And I thought they did a pretty good job of that, all things considered, and try to make everything a little bit predictable. And if you're going to give up possession, at least make it where it's in front of your back line and your holding midfielders, so that you can all kind of react accordingly. But once they start to break the lines and turn you around is when Bayern can really hurt you. Yeah.
You mentioned Succession. I feel like he could be like an Austria's version of Love Island as well, maybe. Just see how he can do. But anyway, regardless, it was a solid night for Brendan Aronson. There's no surprise why teams like Leeds United are interested, etc., etc. But a tall order to go in the second leg against Bayern Munich in, of course, Munich. All right, let's have a little Europa League preview, baby, because it is a sexy tournament, especially in this situation. Barcelona, Napoli, the Maradona derby, I guess you can call it. James Benj, are you excited about, first of all, the Europa League and teams like Barcelona getting involved?
I mean, I'm excited about the Europa League. It is the superior competition.
Yeah, you love it.
I am over the moon that it is back. Especially that we get this sort of weird like pre-tournament that somehow also happens to have some of the most prestigious names in European football vying for the right to lose to West Ham in the round of 16. It's fantastic. And what a game, kind of from a prestige and excitement point of view, Barcelona and Napoli, it's kind of up there with any of the games the Champions League has served up. And it especially helps that the last few weeks have been pretty kind to Barcelona. Great win against Atletico Madrid. The squad looks stronger. Adama Traoré, Aubameyang. It sounds like Aubameyang is now sort of fit enough to play serious minutes to possibly start against Napoli, and that gives Barcelona the finisher they lacked earlier in the season. This is going to be a really great tie. I've got absolutely no idea where it goes because
12:45 Eastern, by the way, everybody.
Early kickoff in this one.
Yeah.
And that's the best bit of this. Yeah,
get it out of the way, I suppose. But Barcelona have only won 3 out of the last 8 home matches in all competitions, and that does start before Xavi took over. But something to keep in mind that the Camp Nou hasn't necessarily been a fortress and a tough place to play. We're seeing that with a lot of stadiums, I think, around the world, where that's intimidating factor and maybe doesn't exist anymore. But maybe that's due to the pandemic and not having fans there for a while as people got used to that. Napoli, though, beat AC Milan away and just held Juventus to a draw in Turin as well. So I think they're coming into good form, getting everybody healthy. Koulibaly's back in from the Africa Cup of Nations. Osimhen is now healthy. You got Insigne, and Zielinski's been looking good for them. I like this Napoli team, not only to potentially get past Barcelona over 2 legs, but maybe to be a dark horse to steal that Scudetto, because it looks like nobody wants to win it outright just yet. It's pretty close in Serie A. Now, I'm just kind of curious. Serginho Dest looks like he might get the start because Dani Alves didn't get registered in time or is not included for this knockout stage game, so that's a good thing. Ousmane Dembele might get his first start in over a month. Aubameyang, to Benj's point, might get a run out as well. So I'm kind of curious to see what Xavi gets together, what he puts together. No Ansu Fati, obviously, is a little bit of a disappointment. But
Luke de Jong, Jimmy Conrad. Luke de Jong.
He is.
Consistent, Luke de Jong.
You know what's crazy is that Barcelona lead La Liga in headed goals this season, which goes completely against their DNA. So they want to pass everything into the goal, tiki-taka style, and that stat cracks me up. And that Xavi's just like, well, we got Braithwaite and de Jong up top. What are we gonna? We just got to just whip balls in and see what happens. And those guys have stepped up, and de Jong in particular has scored some pretty big goals for them over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know which version of Barcelona is going to show up. I think they're going to be competitive, but I like this Napoli team because they've already have an established identity under Spalletti, and they've shown it earlier in the season when they're off to that fantastic start. And even when they had to weather some injuries and people being gone, they're starting to regain that form. So I like Napoli actually to go in there and get a result.
I mean, for me, it's only one of sort of half a dozen really good games tomorrow as well. We should point out you've got Dortmund against Rangers. I think that might be a bit of a hammering for Dortmund, but you never know. Rangers were great in the group stage. It's a sort of fun mix of proper top tier European teams, and then
let's not forget Sheriff in there.
They have a chance against Braga too.
I think they could. I've said all along, I don't know what's really happened to their squad over January. I suspect it's very changed, but they are going to be a tough team to beat. I'm really looking forward to Sevilla, Dinamo Zagreb.
Yeah,
Dinamo know what they're doing in this competition. They kept Mislav Orsic. That was a big boost for them. But also, look at it. Leipzig, Real Sociedad. These are really good ties. And I think the Europa League is a bit unfairly maligned. By no team kind of desperately wants to be in it. But pretty much even by the time you get to this stage, every team that's in it is a really good football team.
I would say Sevilla might want to win it because they're hosting the final. So La Liga teams love Europa League. So I wouldn't count out any La Liga teams in this competition.
Never. They love Europa League. Somebody said I forgot your name. I'm sorry, but Real Betis, don't ever discount Real Betis, of course. But
surely they want to win it even more at Sevilla Stadium.
That's true. Good point.
How cool would that be? And Real Betis, by the way, 3rd in La Liga. I mean, they're doing their thing as well.
Pellegrini.
Yeah, that's right. But just going back a little bit to that. Actually, let me do this. we did power rankings for the Champions League, but let's, just gut instinct. What are you thinking as we go deeper in this tournament, Jimmy Conrad? What teams do you see
Europa
going?
League. You're talking Europa League.
Yeah, Europa League. Yeah.
I'll go Napoli. I'll just give you who I think is going to win. I'm going to roll it off. Napoli's going to beat Barcelona. Betis will beat Zenit. I like Dortmund, especially Haaland. If he's healthy and ready and fit, he's going to be motivated. He'll carry them over the line and take a deep run. I'm going to go Sheriff over Braga because why not? Lazio Porto is really tough to call. I like both of those managers, but I might go with Sergio Conceição here and go with Porto. Even though they lost Luis Diaz, maybe that makes me change my mind. Sevilla over Zagreb, Atalanta over Olympiacos, and I will go with Leipzig over Real Sociedad.
Porto Lazio, by the way, is like that Spider-Man meme. Like
it is.
They're both kind of like they're kind of.
But Lazio's defending is not as good as Porto's, I'd say.
There you go. So maybe it's a stronger Spider-Man. It's the Tom Holland Spider-Man against Tobey Maguire's. Does that mean? I don't know. That was my Spider-Man.
Chiro the Hero Immobile Spider-Man.
That's true. Benj, what do you have?
I mean, I'm not going to go through all those ties because I've forgotten them.
All right, well, I'll say the teams and you tell me who wins. Oh, there you go. See?
All
right.
See them now. I'll take Napoli. I'll definitely take Dortmund, Sevilla, Leipzig.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Zenit is a tough place to go this time of year, and I thought they were good, so I'm going Zenit. Braga, as much as I don't want to, Atalanta, and then Porto. And I think if you're looking at winners, you're taking any of the three German teams. Leverkusen are a really good football team. Mm-hmm. Whichever team comes out of the Barcelona-Napoli tie, I think is immediately elevated to probable favourites, along with Dortmund for this competition.
Right.
And then, of course, especially because they're kind of fading from the top four race, West Ham are just waiting.
Yeah, they're waiting.
This
I forgot about that. We're waiting for
Do you
teams.
see West Ham winning this whole thing?
The form's a bit iffy now, but Jared Bowen is kind of on another level, phenomenal player who's still got room to improve. I think they can. I would put them absolutely in the tier of teams that can win it. I wouldn't make them favourites, but they're right up there.
All right, Jimmy Conrad has to go. Do you see West Ham winning, Jimmy Conrad, before you go?
No, but I think they're going to make a good run at it. I can see them getting to the semifinals.
There you go. Jimmy Conrad, thank you so much, my friend. We'll see you next time, buddy.
All right, thank you, guys. See you later.
All right, that was Jimmy Conrad wearing his Liverpool shirt. Tomorrow will be Manchester United. After that will be somebody else. Who knows? James Benj.
Spreads his love widely.
I have a Google sheet, James Benj, of all the teams that he follows. All right. Well, speaking of that Europa League, we're nearly done here, by the way, and all the final fixtures are on. But let's before we say goodbye, James Benj, any final thoughts from either the Champions League, Europa League, perhaps your beloved Arsenal? I know that Kroenke was he was talking a little bit recently, wasn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Nothing interesting there.
Well, if we're talking about interesting comments coming out of North London, this one may have flown under the radar because it kind of came out in the last hour or so.
Yeah.
But just like to read you these quotes from Antonio Conte to Sky Sports
please
Italy.
Talk to me. Is he frustrated?
Via Google Translate. What happened in January is not easy. 4 players left in January, 4 important players for Tottenham, 2 have arrived. So even numerically, instead of strengthening, you may have on paper weakened. So that's 3 months in that Antonio Conte is complaining about Tottenham's transfer policy.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
curiously,
doing the Scooby-Doo kind of like situation. Didn't you join this club knowing, like, I don't understand. Like, why is this a surprise to him?
What's very strange is he knew that there was money, but not, vast riches. He kind of knew that there were players that had been sidelined in Ndombele, Lo Celso, that he could look at and he could assess. And if he wanted to sell them, he knew they wouldn't generate huge funds, as they haven't. 2 loans and a weird deal with Everton for Dele Alli. It's not a happy camp, and he's got to go to Man City on Saturday.
The reason why I'm so confused right now, because it's literally like months into this gig, and I'm sure there must have been conversations in December about what was going to happen in January. So what? I don't understand. Like, you knew that this was going, I guess, the way that it was dealt. To your point about Dele Alli, the confusing transfer there, the players coming out, coming in. I mean, I'm confused, I guess, is what I'm saying. You made your bed, Antonio, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Well, I guess you didn't make it. It's half done, but at least you know that it's that's what happens right now at Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, there's a lot of political power and leverage with Conte. Although I think a lot of fans are kind of getting a little bit already. I'm kind of hearing from fans and journalists that they're not entirely happy with what seems like quite consistent complaining about a job that kind of like you said, Luis, he knew what he was getting himself in for. But equally, if it doesn't work with Conte, no one's going to say that makes Conte a bad manager. The flack will go to Daniel Levy, the flack will go to the players. And I think he's, as we've seen at Inter Milan, we've seen at Chelsea, he's determined to use what political power he has to try and influence upwards. But why you would start saying this on February the 16th? I mean, it was done probably a few days before as well, I'm sure. A long way out from the transfer window when things are going really badly wrong on the pitch. I don't know.
It's not a great look for the new players that just came in as well. How are they feeling? It's very Mourinho-esque in a way. And, the results as well have to pick up. I mean, they lose 3-2 to Southampton. They lose 2-0 to Tottenham. You mentioned Man City after that. I mean, it's not going to get any easier, Tony. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird dating time. I bet you're loving it, though. Huh? Should we get into that?
Yeah, really am. I'm going to the Etihad on Saturday, so it's going to be lots of fun.
Oh, woo, baby. That's going to be good. Well, James Bench, it's always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Make sure to follow his content, James Bench, and obviously CBS Sports as well. Bench, always a pleasure, my man. Thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to say some of this Tottenham juice for the weekend preview. Des Norris, don't you worry. But there's always new content, so it's fine. It's fine. But thank you, everybody, for being part of our live Champions League recap. We're back as well with much, much more, including our weekend preview, recaps, and so much more. MLS, by the way, begins very, very soon. We got great content coming up for that. James Bench, Jimmy Conrad, Heath Pierce was yesterday, Jonathan Johnson, Fabrizio Romano, Qué Golazo, Des Norris, LME saying goodbye. Have a great, great rest of your evening. See you next time.